Those who know me probably know that I am not exactly the biggest anime guy. I think I've watched so many animes in my life that I can count them on one hand, as in less than the number of fingers on one hand, to be perfectly honest. But there was one anime I was pretty impressed with and did enjoy, and that was Edgerunners, which came out a few years ago. Now, as many of you know, Edgerunners really galvanized the Cyberpunk 2077 community. It pushed the popularity of the game over the edge. It increased the numbers on average forever, meaning since then, there have been higher numbers of concurrent players since, well, the beginning. And it had an enormously positive reception. It was, in a nutshell, if you're into that sort of thing, right, the quintessential Night City cyberpunk dystopian adventure told in anime format, right? You have David, who tragically goes out and becomes a legend in the process, right? His goal, and he abandons, in this sense, his waifu, Lucy, in the process. Now, the surprise here, of course, is that they just the other day announced that Edgerunners 2 is in production right now. Now, on the one hand, this is somewhat surprising, but on the other hand, it's not really surprising at all. It was a smash hit. Pretty much everyone liked it, including people I know who generally hate cyberpunk and dystopian sci-fi in general. These people still liked the anime. And that speaks to the quality of it. It was really well executed. I enjoyed it thoroughly, even though, as to be expected, I was very sad at the end. That's the intention, right? They want to make you sad. That's what one of the people said who is involved in the production of this. And yeah, they're working on the second one. Now, we also know at the same time that Cyberpunk is currently being worked on in the sense they're working on a brand new patch, as well as, the rumors at least tell us this, some additional DLC. Now, DLC in the context of CD Projekt Red means additional content, but not full content. For that, they would call it an expansion. But who knows, we could be surprised by this at the end of the day. Now, since this has just been announced, we know next to nothing about it. As you can see, the teaser trailer was not very revelatory. But we do see this image of a small boy with a camera. The implication here being that it's possible, although we cannot say this 100%, but it is possible that Lucy and David ended up having a child, and that this child is the child we're seeing in the Cyberpunk Edgerunners 2 trailer, right? The fact that it's being called Edgerunners 2, I believe, is a bit of a hint to this as well. Because think about it. They could just call it something else. Why would it be called Edgerunners again? Well, probably because there's a connection to the first one on some level. And what better way to connect the second Edgerunners anime series to the first one by simply introducing the offspring of these two? It's not a terrible idea. Now, do I know this 100%? No, as I just said, I don't. This is me theory crafting and speculating. But it would make sense, right? Because we know that the saga of David takes place before the events of Cyberpunk 2077. And presumably, you could imagine that this is going to take place maybe a decade later or something along those lines. We just don't know. We basically have no information other than they've announced it. It's called Edgerunners 2, and there are going to be obviously new protagonists, new characters. Now, some additional things that we do know is that all of the old crew that worked on the original Edgerunners is working on it again. You know, really, really competent people who were good at writing, good at animating, this sort of thing. So I think this particular anime series is in good hands, and we have no need to fear the slop that has become part and parcel of today's entertainment in the form of Edgerunners 2. Unless something radical happens and these guys have lost their mind, I think it's going to turn out to be a very good production indeed. And who knows, maybe they'll tie into something in the future with Cyberpunk. But for now, we don't know a whole lot. I'm guessing, as I said, that this is about the offspring of David and Lucy in some new context. And who knows, maybe it'll be a completely different thing. Maybe he won't be a merc or anything like that. And ultimately, that's my hope. I hope that this turns out to be a somewhat different story involving different characters, obviously, but also a different plot line. I don't want another merc trying to become a legend in Night City. That would be a bit boring. But I'm pretty sure one thing we can assume, of course, is that it's going to end tragically. That's just the nature of Night City. Nobody ever gets a happy ending. If you remember the infamous words of Johnny Silverhand to V at the end of the game, when he thought that things would end a little bit better, Johnny Silverhand says very promptly, "Not for us, wrong city, wrong people." So it will be ultra depressing 100%, but other than that, it could be a very good story indeed. We just have to wait and see. So I'm reasonably excited about this. I think it will be good. Like I said, competent people are working on it. Even though I don't love Cyberpunk, we'll just have to wait and see. But as always, do let me know what you think about this. It'll probably be coming out at the earliest sometime next year, probably even as late as 2027. These things take time, obviously. But as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you like my content, you like my taste, you can leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. It's much appreciated as it helps out my channel. And I'll check you out next time. Take care.